I built a teleporter in my garage that opened a door to unexplained shadows. This happened a few months ago. I'm 32 and a high school science teacher. Not a genius, but I like to tinker. After my breakup with Jenna, I spent weekends in my garage. It was filled with old tools and half-finished projects. I liked the distraction. One evening, as shadows crept through the overgrown backyard, I set up my latest teleporter model. It was made from spare parts and old wiring. I flipped the switch and felt a chill rush through the room. The device flickered and hummed. I was excited but scared. The noise grew louder, and I could hardly breathe. Then, a swirling portal opened before me. I hadn't expected this. I felt a pull, an urge to step closer. Just then, I saw a shadow dart through the portal. My stomach dropped. I quickly stepped back and knocked over a box of tools. The clang echoed in my garage. I'm still not sure what I saw, but it felt wrong. Days passed. I didn't turn off the teleporter. I found myself returning over and over, trying to figure it out. Each time I activated it, I felt strange whispers swirl around me. They were faint, just echoes. I could never tell what they meant. Friends visited now and then. Melissa, my old college buddy, came by one night. She mentioned feeling a cold spot in my living room. I brushed it off, but it stuck in my mind. I felt it too. I was a science teacher. I should have explanations. That weekend, I checked the mirrors. They looked distorted, like I was looking through a funhouse glass. My reflection twisted, and I felt faint. I thought maybe it was just my imagination. Maybe I was just tired. But the shadows in the corner of my eye grew bolder. Each night, they lingered longer. It felt like they were watching me. Then it came to a head. I turned on the teleporter, almost without thinking. I watched as the shadows flickered and danced. I wanted to scream, but held it in. I thought about turning it off. I really did. But I was drawn in, stuck in a trance. I remember standing there with my heart racing. They whispered louder that time. I couldn't make out the words, but they felt close. I turned to grab my phone, to document everything, but the screen started glitching. "No!" I yelled. Then I heard a voice, clear as day. "Why did you open the door?" I turned around, but there was nothing there, just silence. I don't know what I've unleashed, but I think it's waiting for me to make a move. What if it wants something? Or worse, what if it's already here? I can still feel it lurking in the shadows. The following night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that voice. Why did you open the door? It echoed in my... I tossed and turned in bed, but all I could see were those shadows darting around like they were playing hide and seek. I needed to make sense of it all. By morning, I was bleary-eyed but determined. I decided to check the teleporter's wiring again. Maybe something was wrong. As I stepped into my garage, the air felt charged, almost electric. I hesitated, a knot forming in my stomach. Yet, the curiosity was stronger than the fear. I flipped on the device. The familiar hum filled the air, but this time, something felt different. As the portal opened, the shadows seemed more defined. I blinked hard, trying to understand what I was seeing. They twisted and turned like figures circling a fire. A chill crept down my spine. Suddenly, the whispers returned. This time, I could almost hear a word. Help. It sent a jolt through me. Who was asking for help? Why did I feel compelled to respond? I wanted to turn the teleporter off, to escape those sinister calls, but my hand hovered over the switch. That's when I noticed something on the ground by my feet, a small object, half hidden in the shadows. I bent down, skepticism battling my curiosity. It was a crumpled photograph. I picked it up and felt a chill race through my body. The edges were burnt and the image was barely recognizable. I squinted, piecing together what I could. It showed a group of people standing around a similar teleporter. I recognized one person's face, My old physics professor, Dr. Reed. Confusion washed over me. What was he doing in this twisted reality? I felt a sudden rush of panic. What if they had opened a door like I did, a door that couldn't be shut? I had questions I needed answered, but I felt the shadows around me moving closer, their whispers rising to a frantic pitch. Help! The word clawed its way out, sounding desperate now. I looked around, feeling trapped between two worlds, the safety of my garage and the darkness of whatever lay beyond the portal. My heart raced, pounding against my ribs. Then, without warning, the lights flickered and went out. Everything plunged into darkness. My hands trembled as I fumbled for my phone, praying for light. The screen glowed just enough for me to see the outline of the teleporter swirling ominously. A chill coursed through the room, colder than any winter night. I heard it again. Why did you open the door? But this time it was louder, echoing inside my head. I dropped the photograph, the sound of it hitting the concrete floor, swallowed by the shadows closing in around me. I made a decision. I couldn't just stand there. I had to confront this. With a surge of courage, I stepped closer to the portal, ready to face whatever waited on the other side. But then I caught a glimpse of movement. Someone, or something, was in the shadows. My breath caught in my throat. I was not alone. I squinted into the darkness, my heart racing. I could barely make out a shape. Something was moving in the shadows. My instincts screamed at me to retreat, but I couldn't turn back now. I had to know what was there. "Hello?" I called out, my voice shaking. The shadows shifted, and whatever it was darted backward like a startled animal. I took another step closer to the portal, the hum of the device vibrating through my body. It felt like the air was alive, charged with tension. "Help?" The voice was clearer now, tugging at something inside me. I felt the urge to reach out, to rescue whoever, whatever, was trapped in the dark. Then the shape stepped forward, emerging from the gloom. My breath hitched as a figure came into view. It was a person, tattered clothing, hair hanging limply over their face. I couldn't see their features, but I could feel the desperation radiating off them. "Please, help me," they pleaded, the words laced with urgency. "It's not safe here. You're in danger." What happened? I found myself asking, despite the overwhelming fear clawing at my mind. "Who are you?" "I can't explain now," they said, glancing nervously back at the shadows. "You need to shut it down. The teleporter, it connects to a—" Before they could finish, a loud crackle erupted from the device, and the portal flickered. The shadows surged forward, swirling like dark mist, hungry and agitated. "Get away!" I shouted, instinctively stepping back. My heart raced, and panic bubbled up in my throat. I didn't know who this person was, but I couldn't let the shadows win. The figure took a few tentative steps forward, voice trembling. "Please, you have to listen. They won't let you close it once you've opened the door." In that moment, the shadows lunged at us. I felt the pressure of their presence, cold and suffocating. I barely had time to react. With a surge of adrenaline, I lunged for the teleporter switch. I could hear their voice shouting, urging me to stop, but I didn't have time to think. I flipped the switch, and the portal roared to life. Light flooded the garage, illuminating the shadows as they shrieked and pulled back. The figure stumbled backward, almost falling into the darkness. Then, the force of the portal consumed us. I felt like I was being pulled apart, fragments of reality tearing at the seams. The shadows writhed, swirling around us, clawing to get back in. "Hold on," I shouted to the figure, not even knowing if they could hear me. In that instant, the light flickered again, and I felt us being sucked through, but not before I caught a glimpse of the figure's face. Their eyes were wide with terror, and I realized, too late, that I recognized them. "Dr. Reed?" I gasped as the chaos swallowed us whole. And then, everything went dark. Light flooded back into my vision, but it wasn't the bright, welcoming glow I expected. Instead, I found myself in a dimly lit, cramped space, suspended between reality and something else. The air was thick with an electric charge, and shadows stretched and twisted around me like a living network. My stomach dropped as I realized I was no longer in my garage, but somewhere different. "Dr. Reed?" I called out, voice echoing in the strange environment. Panic surged as I turned in circles, searching for the figure who had been with me just a moment ago. "Where are you?" No answer came. A creeping dread took hold. I took a cautious step forward, wincing at the sound of my footfall echoing off what felt like stone walls. "This isn't happening," I murmured to myself, trying to keep my head clear. My heart hammered as I remembered the warnings about the shadows. Then, from somewhere deep in the darkness, a chilling whisper echoed, "You shouldn't have come here." The voice slithered through the air, making my skin crawl. I tried to pinpoint its source, but the shadows danced too quickly. Feeling bolder, I took another step, and the shadows reacted immediately, shifting closer, swirling as if trying to entrap me. I held my breath, fighting against the urge to fall back. I had to move forward. Whatever had become of Dr. Reed, and whatever threat lingered in this place, would not wait for me to gather the courage. "Dr. Reed!" I shouted again, desperation bleeding into my voice. Suddenly, the whisper returned, now sharper, like a blade. "You must leave before they find you." "Who are you?" I gasped, the shadows twisting and bending in response to my voice. "I just want to find Dr. Reed." Before I could process the implications of my claim, a guttural growl erupted nearby, sending chills down my spine. I turned, and my breath hitched. Something was emerging from the darkness, another figure stepping forth, a creature, almost humanoid but distorted, its skin a mottled gray, and eyes glowing faintly. "Foolish human," it hissed, each word dripping with malice. "This realm belongs to us now. You should have never opened the portal." "Stay back," I managed, my voice trembling. The chaos within me flared up, pushing me to run, to escape, but I stood my ground. I had to find Dr. Reed. The thought lit a fire in my chest. With a frantic glance around, I spotted a small glimmer in the distance, behind the shadowy figure. It looked like a path, or perhaps another opening. Could it lead me back? "I just want to go home," I yelled, lunging toward the light. The creature leapt forward, shadowed hands reaching out, but I didn't look back. I sprinted through the darkness, heart pounding in my ears, the growls and whispers trailing behind me. Then I saw it. The light flickered, and as I sprinted toward it, I found myself praying it wasn't another trap. But I couldn't go back. Not now, not ever. As I neared the light, felt the air shift again, a new presence lurking behind me. That's when I heard it. Someone was following close behind. I pushed myself harder, my legs screaming as I raced toward the light. The whispering voices grew louder, more insistent, clawing at my mind. They warned me, promised consequences for what I was doing. But I couldn't stop. I wouldn't stop. As I broke into the light, I stumbled forward, nearly losing my balance. I was outside. The shadows hesitated at the edge, seemingly unable to cross the threshold. I scanned my surroundings, breathless. The light was a narrow passageway, framed by jagged rocks, leading into a vast expanse that stretched out endlessly. It was beautiful, a surreal landscape lit by an otherworldly glow. But something about it felt wrong. The beauty was sharp, like a mirage too enticing to be real. "Dr. Reed!" I shouted again, but my voice echoed into the silence. No response. Panic bubbled back up, and I turned, my pulse racing as I realized I could no longer see the shadows behind me. Then I felt it, a chill creeping up my spine, the unmistakable sensation of being watched. I spun around, scanning the shimmering cafe-like structures and trees that looked almost alive. Was it just my imagination? Suddenly, a figure emerged from the twisting shadows of the path I had just traveled. My heart dropped. It was the creature. The long, sinewy arms reached out toward me, and I stumbled back, desperate to put more distance between us. "Leave this place," it hissed again, sounding both authoritative and pleading. "You cannot stay here. You will be caught." "Why do you care?" I yelled, hoping it would hesitate. "Not all your kind are worthy like her," it snarled, eyes narrowing. "She risks everything by being here." "Dr. Reed." The name fell hoarsely from my lips. The creature paused, a shadow flickering across its face. Yes, she was brave, but brave does not mean safe. Without warning, the passage behind it began to close, walls of darkness swirling together. The shadows from inside the portal were merging, forming a swirling vortex that looked eager to devour. I felt a pull toward it, a weight that wanted to drag me back. "No!" I shouted, instinctively moving backward, but I was losing my footing on the uneven ground. I had to make a choice. Run toward the creature and the promise of answers, or flee toward certainty, back into the depths of darkness. Then, without thinking, my brain took over. "Show me where she is!" The creature froze, and for a brief moment I saw a flicker of something, fear or maybe hope. It didn't answer immediately, and I forced myself to remain steady. "Please," I pressed, feeling tears of frustration fill my eyes. "I don't know what happened. Help me find her." The figure hesitated, and I saw the shadows around it shift restlessly. "You must run, human, if they find you." "Tell me where she is." The creature spoke. Again, its voice urgent. "Follow me, but you must hurry. They are coming." Before I could react further, it turned and darted into the shimmering expanse ahead. My heart slammed in my chest as I ran after it, the shadows flaring behind me. I didn't know if I could trust it, but I had no choice. This was my only chance. Then, as we crossed into the open, I heard the growls again, echoing across the landscape, reminding me of the danger that clung to my heels. I hadn't escaped yet. "Stay close," the creature said, glancing back, its eyes fierce. That's when I felt it, a surge of darkness rushing toward us, a wall of black intent on swallowing everything in its path. My breath caught in my throat. There was no way I could outrun it. I sprinted after the creature, my feet pounding against the uneven ground. The whispers and growls grew louder, a cacophony that churned within me. Every instant screamed for me to turn back, to find safety, but dread held me tight. If I paused, the darkness would consume me. "Faster," the creature urged, glancing back before darting into a cluster of tall, twisted trees that shimmered in the strange light. I followed, adrenaline propelling me forward, though the energy felt like it might drain any moment. The tree trunks were covered in iridescent vines, twisting in a way that seemed otherworldly. "Where is she?" I shouted, desperate and breathless. "Where's Dr. Reed?" "Patience," it snapped, urgency lacing its tone. "Trust the path." Trust the path? I didn't trust anything. But the shadows were closing in. They moved like a tide, crashing toward us, and I had no option but to keep going. The feeling of being hunted gnawed at my resolve, turning my legs to lead. Each growl resonated in my chest. As we pushed deeper into the trees, the air thickened. The vibrant colors around us dulled as the shadows caught up. I glanced back, and my heart raced. The darkness materialized into flickering shapes, indistinct and shifting. They called out with tortured voices, pleading, mocking. My throat tightened. I felt they were somehow familiar, their echoes stirring memories I couldn't grasp. We broke into a clearing, and the creature skidded to a halt. It turned to face me, urgency flooding its features. "You must enter." I blinked, baffled.
Enter what? In there. It pointed to a small archway cloaked in faint light and shimmering dust. The portal shimmered like a mirage, flickering between existence and oblivion. It's the only way. The growls rose again, more feral and furious. I could see them now, shadowy figures breaking free from the shapes I thought I'd left behind. "Is this even safe?" I asked, fear wetting my voice. "Safer than staying here." It didn't wait for me to think longer, turning and darting towards the archway. I hesitated. What happens if I go in? There's no time. Before I could argue, the darkness erupted behind.
A monstrous wave, determined to swallow everything whole. I bolted towards the archway, propelled by instincts now beyond reasoning. I dove through the shimmering light, weightless as I crossed the threshold. Then everything went dark. My body slammed into something solid, and I rolled, coming to a stop on a cold, hard surface. I gasped for breath, the air sharp and unfamiliar. I was disoriented, and for a moment, panic surged as I scanned my new surroundings. When my eyes adjusted, I found myself in a cavernous room, filled with strange machines and disconnected wires snaking across the floor. Flickers of machinery illuminated the dust swirling in the air, remnants of forgotten technology. My heart sank. This wasn't any kind of safety. I heard it then, the low, resonating growl echoing through the chamber, a sound not of shadows, but of something much more tangible. Someone, or something, was waiting for me. I turned slowly, letting the eerie growl wash over me. The sound was deep and resonated within the room like a warning. I took a step back, trying to piece together my surroundings. Every shadow seemed to twist and shift, and the dim light from the machines cast strange patterns on the walls. "Hello?" I called out, my voice echoing slightly. The growl stopped, and a tense silence replaced it. I held my breath, half expecting something to leap out at me. Instead, a figure emerged from behind a large, twisted machine. A woman stepped forward, tall and confident. Her hair framed her face in dark waves, and her eyes shimmered with an unsettling intensity. "You're not supposed to be here," she said, her voice steady but laced with an edge of urgency. "Who are you?" I asked, my heart racing again. "Where's Dr. Reed?" "Dr. Reed?" She paused, scanning me as if searching for something. "You're one of her students. I thought we wouldn't have to deal with you yet." I was taken aback. "What do you mean by deal with?" "Listen," she said, stepping closer. "You're in a dangerous place. The shadows you encountered are not just figments of your mind. They are drawn to this technology. I need your help to contain them." Contain them? My thoughts were racing, trying to make sense of her words. What is this place? Why is this happening? Before she could answer, a loud crash reverberated through the chamber, making the machines rattle. My heart dropped as I recognized the growl returning, but this time it was joined by a chorus of horrible screeching sounds. Shadows spilled into the room through the archway I had just entered, twisting and writhing like a living vortex. "Run!" she shouted, her expression shifting to one of sheer terror. "We don't have much time." I didn't hesitate. I sprinted in the opposite direction, weaving through the maze of machines. Behind me, I could hear the shadows closing in, their growls harmonizing into a terrifying symphony of menace. The woman was close behind, urging me. "Where do we go?" I shouted over my shoulder. "Follow me," she called, veering into a narrow corridor that twisted away from the chaos. My legs burned, but I pushed through the fatigue. I needed to escape whatever horror was chasing us. As we dashed down the corridor, I began to see intermittent flashes of light and memory.
a blend of algorithms, blueprints, and faces I didn't recognize. Each image felt like a puzzle piece I couldn't quite connect. Then, as if sensing my curiosity, she glanced back. The shadows feed off our fears and memories. They're awakening because of what we've created. That struck me hard. What did you create? I demanded, urgency mixing with a crawling dread. Before she could answer, a shadow lunged at us from above, its form sharp and lethal. I screamed, and in that instant, everything went black again. I gasped as I came back to consciousness, the world slowly coming into focus. The air smelled of metal and ozone, and the darkness around me was punctuated by distant flickers of light. I was lying on a cold, hard surface, and my body ached as I pushed myself up. Next to me, the woman was already on her feet, her eyes scanning the expanse. "We don't have much time," she said urgently. "They'll be here any second." "What happened? Where are we?" I asked, my voice trembling with confusion. "This is a containment chamber," she replied. "It's the safest place we have right now, but it won't hold them for long." I stood up, taking in my surroundings more clearly. The walls were lined with strange devices, glowing faintly. There were panels with symbols and screens displaying erratic data. "Why did you bring me here?" I asked, bewildered. "I didn't bring you here willingly," she said sharply. "If you're here, it means you're part of this mess, too." As she spoke, I felt a chill run down my spine. The shadows I had seen were not a nightmare. They were real, and they were coming. "What do you mean, part of this? I'm just a student." Her expression softened a little. "No, you're more than that. Dr. Reed had plans for you, even if she didn't tell you everything. You have a connection to this technology." "A connection?" I didn't understand. My thoughts raced back to my classes, the lectures on advanced physics and experiments that seemed harmless at the time. Then all of it clicked. I had dabbled in things I barely understood. Had my curiosity opened this door? Suddenly, a low growl rumbled through the chamber, cutting off my thoughts. "They found us," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. "We need to act fast." Act fast? How? Panic surged through me, and my heart raced as I searched the chamber for exits. "Over there," she said, pointing to a panel covered in flickering lights, a tangle of wires stretched across it. "We can override the systems and create a diversion."
It might buy us some time. I moved to the panel, my fingers trembling as I tried to make sense of the data. The glow from the screens danced like the shadows creeping outside. "I don't understand how to do this." "Trust your instincts," she urged. "You can do this. You just need to focus." I nodded, conviction mixing with fear. I pressed buttons, hoping for the best, the growls growing louder and more persistent. "Come on, please," I muttered under my breath. Then, just as I thought I was making progress, the panel sparked and fizzled. The shadows burst through the chamber door. My stomach dropped. "Get ready," she shouted, grabbing my arm. "We're going out the back." "Back where?" I asked, barely able to keep up as she pulled me toward a small exit hidden behind another machine. "Just follow me," she replied, determination etched on her face. That's when I saw it, a swirling mass of darkness blocking our way. I froze, feeling as if I was staring into the abyss. "Don't stop! Move!" she yelled, shoving me forward as the shadows lunged. I sprinted into the unknown, praying it wasn't too late. As we darted through the narrow passage, adrenaline surged through my veins. The corridor was dimly lit, and I had to squint to see where we were headed. The woman urged me faster, her grip tight on my arm, but I felt like I was stumbling through an alien world. "Why are they after us?" I gasped, trying to keep pace. "Because of what you are," she panted, glancing over her shoulder. "You've tapped into something they want." Something within me felt heavy at her words. I couldn't wrap my mind around the fact that I was part of a hunted group. I was just a student who liked physics, not someone involved in a shadowy conflict. The corridor twisted sharply, and we found ourselves in a larger room. A series of consoles lined the walls, screens flickering with bizarre data I couldn't comprehend.
A low hum filled the air, and I could hear the growls echoing behind us, growing nearer. "Where do we go now?" I asked, panic creeping in. "There," she pointed to a terminal in the center of the room, its lights brighter than the others. "I can craft a temporary portal, but I need your help. Can you input those codes?" I didn't want to think about the growls behind us. I rushed to the terminal, reading the scrolling text on the display. My heart raced as numbers and symbols danced before my eyes. I felt out of my depth, but realized I had to push through the fear. "What do I do?" I shouted over the din. "Type the numbers in that sequence," she instructed, her eyes darting between me and the closing shadows. I hesitated, but she grabbed my shoulders. "Trust me, you can do this." Taking a deep breath, I began typing as she called out the sequence.
Ominous figures closed around her, obscuring her fate. I wanted to scream, to shout to her, but I was powerless, trapped in this strange limbo between worlds. "What is happening?" I murmured, confusion filling my mind. Questions swirled amid the haze of fear. Had I truly escaped? Had my escape put her in danger? What exactly had we unleashed? Each breath felt heavier on my chest as I recalled the creature's warnings. A chill slithered down my spine, and I pivoted away from the screen, searching for another door or option. The shadows hissed faintly, as if mocking my hesitation. I took a step back, then another, until I felt the cold metal against my back. I was boxed in, each breath misty in the dimness. If I could only reconnect with the teleporter, maybe I could reverse this mess. I scanned the room, my mind racing with possibilities. This was the conjectured aftermath of failed experiments, remnants of worlds colliding in chaos. Every machine seemed to whisper secrets I couldn't grasp. If I could just find a way back through the teleporter to my reality. I hurriedly rummaged through the clutter, my fingers trembling against wires and overturned parts. The shadows buzzed and swirled beyond the screen, lending an urgent reminder of the danger at hand. I had to do this quickly, but I felt no clarity. The machine at the far end of the room caught my eye. It had the faintest glimmer of power. I hurried over, heart racing, desperately piecing together components I barely recognized. Dealing with technology was one thing, but this felt like another level of absurdity. Shadows shivered at the edges of my vision, darting in and out like predators stalking their prey. "Come on," I urged, adjusting knobs and flicking switches, hoping something would spark into action. I could feel the presence grow heavier, the tension stretching thick around me. The whispers became a din, almost beckoning, pulling me into their depths. Then a boiler-like hum reverberated. The machine sputtered, shuddering as I realized I'd managed to activate something. The air crackled with energy, filling me with equal parts dread and hope. Would this connect me to the teleporter, or would it unleash something worse? As the screen flashed and the power surged, shadows brushed against my legs, rippling in a way that threatened to cascade over me. My pulse quickened. "You want me to stay?" I taunted quietly, daring them to come closer. But the truth was, deep down I feared what I had awakened. With a sudden crash, the doorway bursts open, sending a cascade of darkness tumbling into the room. I backed toward the machine, every instinct screaming for me to hold on to whatever flicker of hope I had found. In the chaotic rush, a voice broke free. Louder, stronger. "You shouldn't have come back. Leave me alone," I shouted, though doubt gnawed at the edges of my conviction. Maybe I had made a mistake? By probing too deeply into the unknown realms. Then, amidst the chaos, I spotted something in the shadows. It was another figure, distorted, almost human, but marred by motion and anger. "You have a choice," it growled, an inhuman rasp threading through the air. I felt it clawing inside my mind, begging me to listen. "Choice?" I echoed, trying to gather my wits as the figures twisted and swirled around us. What choice do I have? Stay or go, it hissed, each word heavy with consequence. But decide quickly. The shadows want you, far more than you realize. My heart hammered. The connection I shared with the machine surged once more, and I understood in that moment that I was inextricably linked to whatever lay behind that portal. A volatile mix of fear and inexplicable power coursed through me. Choose. I closed my eyes, forcing myself to block out the relentless shadows clawing at my sanity. I needed clarity. I want to find Dr. Reed. I need to fix this. The figure faltered momentarily. Then you must confront your fears. The portal can be your salvation or your doom. In that heartbeat of silence, I felt the world flicker. The path to escape lay ahead, but it was entangled with uncertainties. Could I risk another jump through that swirling doorway? Every instinct screamed at me to run, to abandon the darkness once and for all. But deep down, I knew running wouldn't solve anything. I took a deep breath, summoning the courage to commit. With one final look toward the machine, I sprinted for the portal, locking my eyes on the swirling depths of energy ahead. As the shadows blocked my path, their cries intertwining with my racing heartbeat, I leaped into the unknown. And then, for a brief moment of clarity, I felt the weight lift. I hurtled through the darkness, unsure if I was falling or flying. The pressure coiled around me, and I gasped as brilliant lights emerged, illuminating my path forward. But as I shot through, I couldn't shake the thought. Where would this portal take me next? Would I find Dr. Reed? Or would I be lost among the shadows forever? The answers still eluded me, dancing just out of reach, as the chaos consumed me yet again.